Hi there and welcome to this week's edition of Bulls vs Bears. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hello everybody.
Hello. I've got Dave, JT and Kai here with me this week. Full house for a change. So anyone would have thought uranium stocks and materials were up this week. It's a lot easier job when you're getting it right. So just quickly, we're going to go through the disclaimer. Obviously, this discussion's pretty informal, general advice only. Make sure you consult a professional before you make any investment decisions. And we'll just skip on to the next bit. So, NPC and the media. Kai, SBS this week.
That's it. Hey. We've got a new camera as well, much clearer.
Yeah, we're not using it for this vodcast, but that's only because it takes about 8 hours to upload. But yeah, we've got a 4K camera now. Not looking like you're delivering the finance news in the 60s.
That's it. But it's good to be back on SBS. Pretty interesting, like we talked yesterday. We had that big run up in uranium stocks.
Yeah.
So that was definitely favourable for us.
Yep.
We'll talk a bit more in terms of the uranium stocks, but also touching upon the employment figure, which throws a bit of a spanner in the works for Michelle Bullock at the RBA.
Yeah. Well, not just Michelle Bullock, but she's just the front man. But they're all fighting the Labor government's ridiculous, and I'm pretty centrist, by the way. This cheap election vote buying crap, basically, that's at odds with monetary policy. That's happening all around the world. It's not just Australia. What was it? It was nearly 60-odd thousand and 4.1.
Versus 21 expected.
So,
but I think if you break it down as well, it was like 55 full-time and 12 part-time. So usually when you see that big beat, it's like, 70% of it's part-time. You're like, no, it's actually mostly full-time as well. So
strong employment.
Very strong.
Right?
we ain't cutting rates here until probably, I was thinking, late Q1, early Q2 next year. And in my mind now, I'm thinking like September, or maybe August, September next year, really. It does turn fast, but it turns. But
it's really against the grain against all the other central banks. All the other countries in the world, right? Because New Zealand cut 50 bips.
ECB cut last night.
Yeah. It makes it hard for because I'm guessing obviously there's a bit of pressure on Michelle Bullock to basically cut with the other central banks, but with these strong employment figures.
Well, and strong inflation numbers.
Yeah.
So
tricky.
I was speaking to a markets mate of mine, interest rate trader, earlier this week, and he's just going, he wouldn't be surprised if the world's got to turn the ship around on this, because if inflation starts, and this is what happened in the 70s as well, they thought it was finished, and they started cutting rates, going, woo, we've killed it, and then the second wave was so much harder on, so much stronger inflation than the first. So. And that was that stagflation period, it took like 15 years to unwind that. So fingers crossed that's not the case. I don't think they weren't getting at the printing machine in those days, though, were they? So that different scenario altogether, I suppose. But I think we've seen the consumer discretionary stocks, despite stronger economic numbers, have been hit today. So because rates are going to be higher for longer. But I don't know how many times Jerome Powell said that, but and I don't think you're going to get any hikes out of the FOMC now. I wouldn't have thought, again, because Bostic's already come out. He's the leaky ship. He always gives a little bit too much more insight than he should. He said there's no way they're going to cut in November, in his mind.
Yeah.
So, and bond yields have gone back up. Surprise, surprise. But and then obviously we'll get to this a little bit later, but I wrote an article for Livewire on the... It's more of a gossip column, to be brutally honest. The founder of WiseTech, Richard White's been embroiled in a little bit of a scandal, and the AFR and the Australian are loving it. They're really sticking the knife into him. But that aside, because they're alleged and they're accusations.
That's right.
We should have a separate disclaimer for this, but
well, as you said, innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely,
but obviously it's an investment risk.
It's an investment risk,
that's the key.
And the article's written from the viewpoint of, well, what do you do if you're a shareholder? So we sold, and I don't I think that was a really good choice, but nervous sell because that thing comes back in your face so hard sometimes. So
that's true.
It's like, you've really got to get it right because I don't think I could chase it. Like, it goes too hard. Obviously, it's dropped from 134 to about 122. And there's only really a couple. But when the second woman came forward with accusations, that was kind of the trigger for me to go, yeah, this is smelling a little Harvey Weinstein Disney kind of thing here. Like, once there's 2 or 3 people, then all of a sudden there's 5 or 6, and I'm like, well, and that's the thing with those superstar founder CEOs is that they, your company and you are not seen as 2 different entities.
That's true.
That's the big risk, basically. So, but yeah, stock highlights this week, gents. What are we? Obviously, uranium stocks was one of our faves.
The boom's back.
That's it.
And also, and proves our investment thesis, the powering AI, which we did a structured investment strategy on early in the year. Well, not that long ago, actually, 3 or 4 months ago. Microsoft and Amazon coming to the party. They're getting in the nuclear business.
They must have read our article.
Me and those guys go way back. We spoke about Microsoft's.
That's right.
Was it last week? But Amazon coming on, and then Google's looking at it, I think, as well. So
yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you think about how much demand all these data centers that are training the AI models. It's going to be staggering, especially if this thing takes off. If there's no efficiency gains in terms of how these models run, you're just stacking on more and more computers. Yeah. Where are you going to get that energy from? Everyone's going green anyways. You can't do that through windmills.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the key. It's like, so I know people want to go renewables, but these are data centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like intermittent power.
Yeah.
So, like, if there's any little...
I don't know. Kai, you're our computer expert. Do computers, when you need an internet connection, do they need to be left on?
Yes. I think that's the first thing you need to do.
Yeah, right. Damn it.
But that's the key. You need good baseload power.
Correct.
And that's what nuclear provides.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a natural thing that comes in, right? Like, it's relatively clean. It's still got waste, but generally, if you dispose of the waste, put in the middle of Australia.
I think the key is it's non-carbon emitting.
Yes.
Or it's that, so its success is by definition of the government's, like, they want to reduce carbon emissions. I think it's less than that.
Well, so what you forget about this as well is that so this was from a podcast I listened to, is that it's actually cheaper to transfer data than energy. Okay, so stick these nuclear power plants out in the middle of the desert. Stick your data center over there, and then you just transmit all the data through wires.
Throw down them.
Exactly. So you don't have to build
Amazon, Google.
I'm sure.
No, they're putting them in the Nevada desert and all sorts. But I mean, Microsoft had a project this was 10 years ago where they were because the cooling was the issue.
Yes, that's
where they were submerging in the North Sea in north of Scotland to keep these things it was an experiment. But it worked, who's to say? Drop it in the middle of the Atlantic? Shit of a job for the bloke, for the IT guy, just in case there's something that needs to be reset.
Scuba gear. Hold on,
it floats past the Titanic to the server room.
Exactly.
But they've been trying all sorts of things, and so Gates and Bezos are involved in that mining where they use Google Maps to try and find the likely places for copper mines and stuff. That's how they found that mine in. It was in sort of Central Africa. I can't remember the name of it, but BHP's a bigger shareholder than those two are.
There you go.
And they're doing mining exploration via satellite maps and geological. I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm not.
So it's not two guys in the ute with rock samples.
No,
Okay,
which is
the main thing when you go to a mining conference. That's what it actually is.
It's literally blokes, with a shovel and a ute. So it's good to know that they're picking their game up. But and I think these guys. I mean, the four big guys that are going to be Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Nvidia. They have 600 billion odd cash between them. They're richer than every country in the world because every country in the world is severely in debt. So
600 billion cash. Wow.
Oh, something stupid like that. Yeah. That might be the whole Mag 7, but I don't think the other three have got a lot of cash, do they? Apple might actually, but
well, it's just amazing.
It's north of $500 million, regardless. But so. These guys are the perfect people to start rolling out utilities for themselves. They're not going to pay tax. Mm-hmm. Well, build your own freaking power plant. So, and I think they'll start they've already shown their hand. Copper will be next at some stage it will be, and because once they power it, they've got to get the power in there somehow.
Got to transmit,
unless they're
wireless charging. Wireless data transmission.
I don't want to live next door to that data centre. Kids coming out with two heads.
For me, Bank of Queensland was the standout for the week. So they came out with some great results. I think their net profit after tax jumped about 100%. So they must have had a bad year the year before, obviously. And then, when the bar's low, it's easy to beat it by 100%. But either way, that actually set off a trigger on the rest of the banks. So all the rest of the big four rallied. Macquarie maintained its highs, and that's what helped our index get to new highs this week as well. So you saw early this week, I remember, ding, 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 I called XGO would break new highs this week, and fortunately made it on the Tuesday. Kept going on the Wednesday.
It's hardly a risky call in the last. We've made. It's the second most amount of record closes of any year in history. So you're not exactly going out on a limb.
Yeah, but don't forget, I'm talking to a bear here. So
mate. I'm an economics bear. We've been 100% allocated for quite some time. I know when to shut the hell up.
Yeah, but either way, I actually think that we're close to the top here. The fact that we actually had some decent earnings and the S&P hasn't busted out new highs, kind of and we've got the election in about 2 weeks' time. I'm just throwing caution to the wind here. I think what's happened is the market sort of front ran the fact that Trump's going to win. Mm-hmm. And they've sort of pushed it to new highs. So it'll be interesting to see if you can continue this. It has to keep going. That's the way these things work.
I believe it's 17 or 18 more days of this election hell. So and then inevitably they'll just start talking about who's running next. I just don't. It just keeps. I think they just have this election cycle that goes forever just to keep the news channels going.
That's their job.
It's a TV show, right?
Well, they've got to get clicks. They've got to get clicks. They've got to get views. Yeah. That's their job.
Yeah. So, what's your market on how many assassination attempts? More, because we're up to about 3 or 4 now. I think every time Trump takes a betting in the polls, someone gets found with a gun at one of his rallies. I reckon there'll be at least 2 more attempts.
Didn't you say there was a newscast with them behind a glass?
Elon Musk. That's be very, as we said this morning.
Ain't no sniper getting through that.
Ain't no sniper getting through that. But I mean, can you pick 2 more unlikable blokes? Yeah. I admire Elon Musk, but the guy's a nightmare. It's just. Imagine being a shareholder in his companies. Just, we talked about founder syndrome. He's one of the successful end, thank God. But
exactly. He's achieved some pretty, admirable feats. What was the one we were talking about? Into 200 GPUs into a data center in 19 days, which should have taken 4 years. And Jansen was basically I've never seen this before.
Yeah, so the CEO of Nvidia actually praised Elon, said that's an amazing feat. Yeah. So for the
19 days.
But it's obviously good to say, hey, thanks for buying 100,000 of us. So you got go Elon.
I didn't.
Maybe you can build another one in 19 days.
Yeah.
Build one in 18.
Yeah, no, Jensen was never gonna. He wasn't. He was like, "See, guys, hurry up! Like, buy my $45,000 chips."
That's it.
I think we just got Hill. Yeah,
Hillgrove. That's
one of our little speckies.
Yeah, copper specky that we have. So they doubled their resource. I think it was 90% in
96%.
96% in copper and over 100% in gold. So that
Blue Horseshoe says buy Hillgrove. But
they're good operators, and they, we saw their mine plan. There's still more to go.
Well, they might discover more because I remember we looked at it, the annual report last time.
Just disclaimer, folks. None of us are even remotely geologists, right? So,
but they made it pretty clear there was this big shining thing next to the mines that they drilled through.
It could have been dinosaur bones. Like, we don't know.
Big shining.
I always look at those mining things and go, it looks good, but that could be anything. They could have buried, an old pet in the backyard and just magnified it. Who knows? But there was a big nugget there somewhere of what we don't know.
They found some. They found some today. So I think like doubling your reserves. That's nothing to laugh at.
Oh yeah, no, it's particularly when copper goes to $7.
Exactly. And what's Flight Centre?
It's all the travel stocks.
Turbulence.
So Webjet, Corporate Travel, Flight Centre, they're all not looking great at the moment.
That's right.
Well, I mean, this has happened quite a bit in a few sectors lately. Like, maybe it's not the company's fault; it's the market's fault for putting them on a freaking 400 PE. Like, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on where it's like, the company should be operating as a company. They're not, they're not operating around they shouldn't be operating around their share price. I mean, often they do, particularly in the US. But like, they were so overcooked.
That's true. Like they raised so much capital through through COVID. So just to keep afloat, they raised so much capital. So if you had that, what was the market cap actual?
Yeah, the market cap. You can
if you could actually chart the market cap versus the price.
Koshi froths over that. I brought in a market cap chart for Webjet, and he's like, "Oh my god!" Like reinvented the wheel. But,
so you can see that the chart might be going sideways or just drifting higher, but the actual market cap just keeps going higher and higher.
Yeah,
so.
Webjet's like way through record highs, but if you look at a chart and price, it's nowhere near.
Yeah, exactly.
And I made the mistake of going, well, geez, Webjet's got like 50% to go, and then I went, hang on, and there was that whole pandemic thing.
Yeah.
US stocks had earnings this week. Started with the banks. Banks killing it, obviously, and then JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they all reported really well. Some of the regional banks, interestingly, were very well capitalised. Like they're worried about it, which that's like US banks are never responsible. Usually it's and we haven't had anyone come out who may have tapped that 2.8 billion liquidity in that one day.
Really? Okay.
No, I haven't seen anything yet. But yeah, so Goldman Sachs, 27 consecutive quarters of net inflow. ROE's still nearly 11, so a distant third to CBA. Well, CBA and Macquarie. I think Macquarie's now 15, but it was 19 for many years. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, Macquarie was the weakest of the banks this week. So even though these guys, they're more like an American bank. Mm-hmm. Netflix. It was guidance. I mean, they beat expectations, but
How are they for subscribers? That seems to be always the
more
subscribers than expected. Okay, so they're still increasing,
but they're also like watching Bloomberg this morning. They were covering it live and basically saying they gave so many different potential models that it was very hard for an analyst to get a proper read on it. But because
which means that they're actually fudging numbers.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. Like if you are actually beating numbers, you want to make it nice and simple. Mm-hmm. We beat this. If analysts can't decipher your models and can't figure it out,
I haven't looked at the presentation, but if there's a Venn diagram in there, You know that a Venn diagram at the start of any company report, they're very good at the corporate bullshit bingo. So, and then TSMC, which is Taiwan Semiconductors, and then ASML, which is the Netherlands that do the high grade ones. The ASML reported badly. Everyone was freaking out. Nvidia lost like 6%, which is we'll do it in which is I think it's about 1.5 to 2 BHPs in one night. And then TSMC was actually then bullish.
Okay.
And then Jensen again turns around and he's like, yeah, and was quoted basically saying, that's more like it. Could not nowhere to be seen when ASML said that they were. So look, he's doing his job, and he's got a fair bit of skin in the game. But Dave, next week, what do we got in terms of US earnings?
Yeah, as you can see, well, if you're watching along, it's pretty congested during the middle of the week. The two bigger ones to keep an eye on. Obviously, Tesla on Wednesday next week. There's a lot. Basically, in the last quarter, they're up something like 22%.
Yep.
So there's going to be basically a lot of focus around what they're doing. They've just, I don't know if you guys saw during the week, they released designs for all the robo-taxi stuff. And a lot of the
presentations.
Yeah, self-driving.
Interestingly, Bloomberg had a breaking, story. They broke the news that some of the robots weren't ready because Elon apparently went, we're staffing it with robots like 3 weeks before, which was just completely bullshit. Like, there was no way they were going to get it done. So they were remote control. They actually weren't automated. And it was supposed to be scandalous news, and everyone's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys actually saw the designs, but I saw a funny meme during the week it was Instagram or something, where the director of iRobot was calling out Elon Musk for stealing the designs of those futuristic robotaxis. If you go and look at them side by side, it's literally like it's lifted from the movie that came out almost 20 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, but the Tesla campaign was We Robot.
Oh yeah, well there you go.
Like, I don't know whether that was intentionally, but Elon definitely posted that. So he's either just going piss off, or he's sort of,
he's like
because I thought that was the campaign. I didn't realise there was any controversy.
Yeah, but it's like side by side. The designs are like bang on. So it's pretty funny there.
And then obviously Amazon
on Thursday. So basically, it's just more about their earnings at the moment. So it talks about the web services and, of course, the North American segment. It's going to be a lot about what that data is looking like, especially as we head into Christmas.
Yeah,
that's obviously going to be a big time for them.
They're doing like 2 Prime Days a year, and now it used to just be one, or there might even be more.
Oh, it's like what's Black Friday or something as well.
Black Friday now
Friday
is just a bit of a joke. So everything's they pretty much, from what I was getting stuff non-Black Friday way cheaper. I think they mark up to mark down in that now, and the volumes have dropped basically because people have wised up to that fact. Because it used to be severe discounts.
It's a lot bigger in the US though, because like in sense of mentality, right? Because like I just remember going to Macy's and stuff like that. People were just out on the streets, like
stampeding, right?
It's like the old Boxing Day. Now Boxing Day, no one goes shopping anymore, right?
Yeah.
But in the old days, like you go out and it's like on Boxing Day, everyone's out trying to get a deal.
Yeah.
So they do that in
America,
Black Friday.
There's always a story of someone getting crushed, like
or 2 mums fighting over something or something like that. It happens all the time.
I think they'd probably just film one every 3 years and just play the same one. But yeah, look, and interestingly there as well, you can see, and obviously you can see this if you're not watching the podcast and you're just listening. Just go to the website and download the PDF the weekend, but or get the calendar off our website. But the BRICS conference is next week as well, which is pretty important overall because it's not just BRICS anymore, which is what is it? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and whoever else. South Africa. There's 35 countries going to this thing, and Putin loves being a loose cannon. I wouldn't want to be a journalist. It's in Russia, so I wouldn't want to be a journalist covering it. Certainly not a positive journalist. But they reckon that he's probably going to really double down on tabling a gold-backed multi-currency alternative to the US dollar. But every time they have one of these things, like it was 5 of them, then it was 10 of them. Like this thing, I don't know how long they've been doing it, but it's not a decade or more realistically, is it? It's only really the last 5 years.
And it's come across quickly, and it just comes back to US debt problem.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the way the system works, and could take a little bit of time, but the way the system works is basically it was Saudi sell us your oil, we'll give you treasury bills, okay, and then US would run a big deficit, and then people would just have to buy their T-bills to do any commerce around the world. Yeah. So now they're like, look, even a country like say Malaysia, they'd be like, look, we've actually got natural resources, but then they have to convert to US to then on sell. And they're like, how about we just skip the whole thing, sell it to Russia? They just either give us back rubles or gold. Yeah. And that's one of the main reasons why gold's running higher. Now, the thing is, for me, I don't think they'll be able to get off the US dollar. Okay, but I think this is more spells trouble for the US Treasury market.
Yes.
So I think everyone's happy just using US dollars as a measuring stick. So everything's priced in US dollars. That's fine. But then actually giving the money to US in T-bills, that's where it's going to stop.
Well, it's also the control as well, right? Because effectively the whole payment system is like, look at what happened to Russia. Basically, when they went to war with Ukraine, the whole reserves in other countries were confiscated.
That's ours now.
Yeah, and I think that's the purpose of this, right? They're going, well, effectively, all our money overseas, you have control over.
Well, they weaponized it. Well, that's the key. They weaponized it. And I don't think they'll be, as I said, I don't think they'll be able to get off the US dollar standard completely, but they will. Well, they actually haven't been, but they will. You'll see the US will be having more and more trouble funding their government deficits.
Well, it's growing at $1 trillion every
100 days.
No, it's faster now.
Oh,
it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
So there'll be basically this election will get out of the way, and then they will probably go into almost an immediate government shutdown and a debt ceiling argument straight away.
Yeah.
So
but that's okay. If Trump gets in, Elon's going to be the budget. Like he said, he's going to be the chief.
He's going to fix the debt problem in 19 days.
He's going to become the Federal Reserve chairman.
Well, we know Jerome Powell's out the door if Trump gets in. So, could you imagine him running the Fed on Twitter? Oh my God!
Oh, that would be
wow. Yeah, right. World. Let's not.
But going back to that de-dollarization, it's interesting to draw parallels with the sterling because, England 100 something years ago, that was a reserve currency. The decline in the sterling was actually they basically lost all their power after the currency fell.
Yeah.
Right? So that's really key for the US.
Didn't have 20 odd super carriers though.
Yeah.
But
they did colonise a lot more of the actual world compared to the rest. So they were quite dominant.
Whilst they colonise, spreading democracy, I think is the new word for colonisation, because elections can be shifted. Just ask Russia and or China as well. So, we'll never know the full story on this stuff. What goes on behind closed doors, we'd probably be shocked about, or we're just completely paranoid and no one's got a bloody clue. So who knows? But not my pay.
But either way, the trade from here is and has been and will be going forward is gold. Just keep buying gold.
To that point, when I think I brought this up on the podcast recently, is I was reading Rockefeller's book, and then it was the bit where they transitioned between the sterling to the US dollar being the reserve currency. But there was a period there where basically, if you wanted to buy oil, you had to pay in gold for it to go anywhere, and if you wanted to sell it, you received your payment in gold. So they basically for major export, it was a system like they're probably proposing with that multi-currency system, whereas it's I don't care whether you got sterling or whether you got US dollars. At that point in time, they went, we don't deal in anything but gold. That's it, and you guys take the risk because apparently they're, obviously, I would imagine 100 years ago, it's pretty wide. Price efficiency probably wasn't like a massive thing. Now you go and speak to an Englishman, and the sterling price would be double than you speak to an American. So, and then silver as well was silver coins were massive in the US, and particularly in the South, I believe. But yeah, look, I don't know whether that's come along quickly, and I'm surprised. I'm most surprised at the fact that there's 35 countries, and there's probably 15 of them. They're just trying to get the numbers up, but you know, it is gaining momentum. Look, the gold standard doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of what they're trying to do with that, but I guess it's more. You know, I wrote a comment on gold this week about. No one loves gold. They just hate the US dollar. And then I got absolutely shot down in a heartbeat. I may have purposely done it just for sport, but yeah. And then obviously we covered the Tesla launch, that ridiculous election. They had at that Tesla launch they had the one of the robots was a bartender. That was real, that one. And then
was he pouring free shots? Or?
No, he mixed a whole cocktail from scratch, and then had actually back and forth conversation with the person who was there.
Was he shaking or malfunctioning?
No, don't know. But you know, it doesn't really matter.
Was that why Elon had to get the 200,000 GPUs as well? Gotta make this work.
Because iRobot couldn't make a Manhattan or ask Pina Colada. But it was. I like the idea of the launch. Obviously, it's a bit disappointing finding out that some of them are a bit remote controlled. One of the guys on Bloomberg, the funniest thing ever, he goes, I thought there were people in suits. It's like they were like these things. The offsider, because I watched it before the bell in the morning. She goes, "How skinny is that person?" Wow. And then she started launching into some anorexia thing, and then they just cut her off and went to an ad. So yeah, but look, we'll wind up a little bit.
Anyway, let me just commodities.
Commodities. Sorry.
Yeah. So we've talked about gold. Mm-hmm. Yep. So it went down last week to 26.05 and back new highs last night, 2,700 on spot. Silver still lagging, but it's still consolidating at the highs. It needs to break out.
What about palladium?
That didn't break out.
No, damn it,
that didn't break out. Uranium, obviously, we talked about it. Amazon with their SMRs.
That's right.
So that'll jump. Crude oil, that's been interesting. So a podcast I listened to basically said that the fact that the Iron Dome got penetrated, some missiles actually got through, it means that it changed the actual dynamic between Iran and Israel, meaning that that shot that Iran hit actually hit them, and so Israel has to be a bit more cautious now.
Oil was still down 5% on the week.
No, but that's why. So there was rumours that Israel would hit back, but I think the fact that Iran got through. Israel's like, oh, hang on.
Well, wasn't it because they had like the hypersonic missiles where they're launched into space and something like that?
No, but either way, like
they have hypersonic missiles.
Oh, they might, but either way, like Israel was always famed for having the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
That where like any missiles get shot down, and obviously some got through with decent precision. So that's the fact that Israel didn't hit back sent crude lower. So. Crude was at 78 last week. It's back down at 70.
Back yet? It's been going on for years.
That's true. So iron ore and copper, they followed China lower. Mm-hmm. So obviously China had that big boost from the stimulus, and the stock chart, has started to roll over, and obviously copper and iron ore follow that. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin, it did make another new high here, but it hit 68.
Wow.
To the moon.
Yeah, but I think so. My theory on Bitcoin is that because there's now actual BlackRock, Citadel, all those guys making markets in it, I think they're just going to bleed out the crypto bros because a lot of the attraction with crypto was how volatile it was. Like it had the volatility of I think it was like 200 at normally at one stage, and now I think the vol's down to about 80, which is still high, but for the crypto bros, that's not fast enough.
Not 10 baggers anymore, 2 baggers.
Exactly.
So go back to the track. Like really,
but that's the thing. Crypto was even better than the track. Like it was like the amount of money that changed hands and
10x in 2 days.
The amount of money that got laundered, basically.
Absolutely. But anyway, that's commodities for the week.
And yeah, look, trade of the week. We kind of touched on it earlier. Wrote an article. You can click through on livewiremarkets.com. Found a scandal, basically. So we sort of covered it a little bit earlier, but essentially went through and we just put a sell. We didn't hold it here, but we had some clients that held it. It was very much a long-term hold, but this really changed things because, if he's got a problem with being the pin-up boy of, founding CEOs on the ASX, is that, you're under the microscope. So not going to comment on the situation, but the article goes into, obviously when Steve Jobs left, when one of the better handled ones was probably Bill Gates leaving. But so there was an example there where the company did drop significantly, but it was 2001. So it's not that wasn't Gates. That wasn't because of Gates. Like, they had a good succession plan. But interestingly, though, just a CEO leaving on average is across the stats I saw. Was 3.5% drop on the first day, no matter what. Long term, it hasn't really affected it, but overall. But obviously, they had a great example of but Apple cratered, Disney cratered, WeWork dropped 80% when their founder left.
Did you talk about Magellan at all?
Oh, Magellan, yeah. I mean that one, and that one's probably close. It's a close example because it's a personal scandal of the founding CEO that wasn't the company's problem.
Yeah.
And obviously that was at $50 Magellan, and what's it, 7 now or 8 now? Yeah. I took it off all screens because I was sick of people asking me when, should I get out? And I just said for 2 years straight, yes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that as you say though, so funds management is a popularity contest.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the share market is a popularity contest as well.
Yeah,
so that's why we have market darlings. You have great companies that are unloved, and so WiseTech is a market darling, and this is the first kind of blemish there. And as we say, we don't know anything about the scandal, but from an investor's point of view, it's like, will this make the company less popular or more popular?
Yeah, I think it makes it less popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and like I said, the AFR and News Corp are hammering it pretty hard. It was already trading at a premium. It's prone to pullbacks. So we were itchy trigger finger anyway. We had an alert at 1:30 and a breach 1:30 because a second woman had come forward with accusations but the bewildering thing is this wouldn't be public if he'd just paid a $90,000 thing out to one of the accusers, and maybe he's trying to make a moral point. But
what's he worth?
$11 billion. So he'd find that down the back of the couch, or in the dashboard of his car or something. I would have thought. Well, he still lives with Mum, but the dead set excellent. Yeah, no.
Oh wow.
The AFR's almost true crime podcast of the whole thing gave a lot of context, actually. It felt so gossipy, and I was just trying to get to went home and wrote an article about it afterwards. But yeah, look, we would normally be buying the dip on this thing, but and we've been managing a position up until now, and that's gone well. But yeah, what was it, listed at $5 in 2015-16?
Yeah.
It's at 135. It's got to 170, above 170 PE 4 times in the last 5 or 6 years, and had on average a 47% drop.
Yeah.
After at that point, so
that'll be a prime candidate once it gets to a level where it kind of finds a low to sell some puts. That'll be a prime candidate.
I know we'll
be doing a smart discount.
No, it'll be smart entry notes are closer. No, I've asked them for pricing on a smart entry note for that.
But that's what I mean. So anyway, we'll be selling. We'll be selling puts on that when the time comes.
Yeah. So when you're selling puts, if you're not an options guru like JT is basically if you're selling say $90 puts in this stock, if it gets to 90, you receive the stock.
Yeah.
But you get the premium in the meantime. So. it's sort of a sneaky little way of earning a little bit of yield, which is kind of what the smart entry notes essentially are overall. So, look, we're just wait and see at the moment, I think. That's just me. I would like to see the dust clear, but I thought it was probably going to come back to. Apparently, a lot of fundies were short the WiseTech into the result, which is why it gap opened higher and then continued to go higher. But,
and obviously, so we need to check the short interest on that type of thing, and see how that plays out as well. But either way.
But look, it's check out the article because it's just more about it. I do go into it a little bit like, can you handle the pain? Are you happy with it long term? So just some steps on how you might want to manage the position if you're a WiseTech holder, because if it just blows over, like maybe but there is obviously we've already had a 140 to 122 pullback, so that's about 18%. Like, as long as you know where your pain threshold is, you'll usually be okay. But if you don't know where your pain threshold is and you start scrambling, that's when you're going to make mistakes. So, but fear and greed index this week, boys, is 72, which is just a smidge from extreme greed.
Okay.
I don't know the market. I don't know why it seems like a really stupid thing to say, but it feels less greedy at the moment. Like there is a couple of down days here and there, but apparently it's a little bit more greedy this week.
What are your thoughts for next week?
I'm passing my vote until the election's over. Basically, I think I'd be the same opinion until that's out of the way, because
which is neutral, or
basically just neutral. Like I think whenever there's a lack of catalyst, we always grind higher. So. And whenever there's like a negative catalyst, we ignore it and grind higher. It'll be. But look at this week, for instance. We made a record high. We got belted. We went back and made then another record. Like, I think it's not a convincing green candle every day rally, but somewhere between up or down 1 or 2% basically until the election.
How about yourself, Guy?
Oh, I'm probably in the bearish camp.
Oh, bearish camp. Okay.
See, it's, some of the little cracks you're seeing, come through. I just think that there's potential that, little correction. I don't think it's going to go anywhere major before the election, to be honest. There's no catalyst, right? But I'm going to put in a bearish week next week.
Okay, fair enough. So I was bullish last week. We made the new highs. I'm neutral this week. I think I'm similar to you. Unless there's some big beats in the earnings and the market pushes on. But for me, especially here in XJO land, is the fact that China's starting to roll over. We had that big stimulus boost, and it hasn't been able to carry on. So obviously we rely on China a lot. So that's why I'm quite neutral on our markets at the moment.
Well, I don't know when we introduced fence sitting, but I guess I've started that. So what about you, Jeff?
As we edge closer to the election, I think it's just going to be all eyes on it. So as we get closer and closer, to be as neutral as possible. Everybody's just going to be sort of on tenterhooks watching, and then you'll get a direction after the election.
And the fact that the hurricane and the Middle East and blah blah blah, like you're going to get some reaction out of that, and we just haven't. So it must mean everyone's pretty close to neutral, I suppose, or
maybe it's just people don't watch the news anymore. Like no one's got TV on anymore. They just No one's carrying, and the attention span's like 3 seconds these days.
Yeah,
rockets from Iran. Okay, done.
Yeah, no. Well, there's been
back to TikTok.
Yeah. How do I make a rocket to Iran? But it'll be interesting anyway. I think that BRICS, something weird might come out of that BRICS thing. Like, I think it's China's big, and then I do love the fact that they've put it on at exactly the same time as the IMF meeting. Okay. So, which is, but gone 1 day longer. I reckon there'd be a little bit of chest beating. I'd feel like, I'd be a bit worried if I was anyone else except for China or Russia getting involved in that, because you literally know you're going to be a passenger.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, I don't see a reason that gold will go down.
Oh no, God no.
So just stay long and keep long till well after that meeting, because
we've got
what else can they come out in terms of like a big announcement, if they come out with a reserve currency, it'll have to be backed by gold.
Well, they've already said that.
But then if they come out with details on maybe the price has to be fixed at a certain amount, like we could just see it shoot up as well.
But it'd be way back in the archives of the episodes, episode 40 now. This podcast's middle-aged. Is that China been buying record amounts of gold. Asia's been buying record amounts of gold. Who knows what Russia's doing? You're not getting any data out of them. So, and I'd just say any international journalists over there in Moscow covering it, just make sure you use your own knife and fork and drink out of your own teacup and things, and be nice to Mr. Putin. Otherwise, you may not get home. So, but yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up this week, guys. Any last comments or anything to look out for? No. Fair enough.
Do you have a Kramer for the week?
Kramer for the week. It's really just hard to go past just any presidential nominee. Like, the list is just stupidly long. But I don't like. There hasn't been. I would go with most of the Australian fund managers for calling for rate cuts. They probably can nominate about 5 of them who have been calling for rate cuts, and then I would imagine the kook's still beating that drum, and then went on TV and said basically, nah, we're still getting them. We are. It's like if you're an economist, you can't just change the rules to suit your argument. So it's a two-paced economy. It's like numbers and numbers, man. Like, but yeah, no, it's been interesting watching a few of them sort of having to scramble because there was an AMP had 7 rate cuts priced in this year when we went to that live wire thing, and you and I looked at each other and went, 7 rate cuts, like what?
How many meetings are there?
Yeah, like we just looked at each other and like no one was talking rate cuts. So I think that, and I Jim's actually been all right the last week.
Okay.
But no big calls though. But I've also worked out that a lot of people just write joke thing. So he doesn't say a lot of shit that he.
So you actually have to filter it out and see.
Well, now it's kind of an official segment. I've got to do my research on it. So and I think poor old Jim may have been accused of a few things he actually hasn't said. So. But he just doesn't care. Any press is good press as far as old Jimmy's concerned.
That's it.
But I think he did say that after one of the chip stocks got smoked to buy the dip, so he Kramer himself. Like he was right. He was supposed to be a reverse market indicator. So but anyway, stay safe out there, and we will speak to you next week.
Yeah, thanks
Have
for
a good
listening
weekend.
and watching.